Hotep family, this is Michael M. Hotep, host of the Michael M. Hotep Show and founder of the African History Network. Want to invite you to listen to tonight's show, the Michael M. Hotep Show on the Empowerment Radio Network, 10 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, Tuesday, October 6th, 2015. We have a jam-packed show for you tonight. Last night, we ran into some technical difficulties. I interviewed Jim Klingman, co-founder of 1 Million Conscious Black Voters and Contributors, as well as Nkosi Cheeks of the Wellness Advocates of Detroit. So some of the topics I was going to deal with last night, we're going to deal with tonight and more. In Houston, Texas, you have an African-American mother of a ninth grader who took exception to some of the information that was in his world geography book. Okay, her name is Ronnie Dean Burren. And we always talk about how African American parents need to be involved in their children's learning. Okay, and she is. The publisher of the book is called World Geography. The publisher of the book is McGraw-Hill, and in the book is talking about the transatlantic slave trade or dealing with that particular subject somewhat. And there's a caption in the book that says the Atlantic slave trade between the 1500s and 1800s brought millions of workers from Africa to the southern United States to work on agricultural plantations. Okay, it referred to them as workers as opposed to enslaved people who have been taken away from their homeland, etc. Okay, so we're going to talk about that and the outcome of that issue, and we also want to find out from you how have you corrected misinformation coming from your child's school, whether it's in textbooks, whether it's in a lesson that was given by a teacher, etc. One of the things I'm interested to find out in this case here, and this is in Houston, Texas. Texas has one of the largest school systems, national state school systems as well. So oftentimes Texas and California will set the tone for what the textbook publishers print. Okay, and I saw this coming a couple years ago. So parents in Texas really have to organize to change this. Okay, I'm interested to find out the teachers at the school that her child is at. What did they say about this? Did they contact the publisher, McGraw-Hill? Did they correct this with supplemental information in the classroom, etc.? I'm very interested to find out about this. Also, we have to push accurate information to these textbook publishers, and they have to put in these textbooks that African people are indigenous to North, Central, and South America. African people did not first come to this land that we call the United States enslaved, in chains, as workers, what have you. African people have been here at least 51,700 years. At least 51,700 years, okay? Read the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David M. Hotep. The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David M. Hotep. He has 713 footnotes. He uses 13 different disciplines to document an African presence in North, Central, and South America. South America going back at least 56,000 years ago. But I talked to him a few months ago, and I interviewed him as well. All in my shows are archived. You can go to AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, click on radio shows at the top of the page, and click on the link for the Michael M. Hotep Show. And there's a link there for the archived episodes. He said there's new evidence that came out last year. There was an article from the New York Times that talked about new evidence that pushes the date back to 100,000 years ago in South America as opposed to 56,000 years ago. Okay, so visit his website, historictruth.info, historictruth.info, more information regarding that. So that's one thing we're going to talk about tonight. Also, Wholefoods market announces that they will no longer sell food made by prisoners, but hundreds of other businesses will continue to do so. Okay, They say that they'll stop making two products that they carry. It's goat cheese and it's tilapia produced by Quixotic Farming. Okay. But other businesses are going to continue to do so. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as well on tonight's show. Then you have a case of a 12-year-old African American boy who was suspended for staring at a white girl. Okay, they were playing the staring game. He was okay, the staring game. I'm not an expert on that. Okay, but he was suspended from school for staring at a white girl who's a classmate of his, and the school is upholding this decision to suspend him. Okay, we're going to talk about that as well, and this reminds me of Emmett Till. This reminds me of Emmett Till. I know he wasn't killed or anything like this, but just when I just first heard about this, I automatically thought about Emmett Till with this case here. Okay, so we'll talk about that some as well, and then there's a great story about. We posted this other story on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and some of these other stories we've posted on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. We post articles on a daily basis dealing with all different topics, current events, history, politics, education, economic empowerment, etc. It's not just African history, okay? Because if we only deal with African history, we will really be history. If you're not dealing with what's going on today and planning for the future, you just want to deal with history, you will be history, period. Okay, but you have another story of three inmates who are part of a prison debate team who debated some undergraduate students from Harvard University, and they won the debate. Okay, and there's some very brilliant brothers and sisters who are in prison. We really have to stop the mass incarceration and the war on drugs because they are related. There was an article from the New York Times a few months ago called 1.5 million black men missing, 1.5 million black men missing. And it deals with how you have in different cities, whether it's Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, literally thousands of African American men who are missing from the communities because they are either incarcerated or they are dead. Okay, 1.5 million black men missing. Check out that article from the New York Times. You also have, we'll also talk about Alabama. Now, the state of Alabama in the year 2011 passed voter ID laws, okay, requiring voter ID, picture ID to vote, okay? They say it's to reduce fraud. Yeah, right. Okay, just to reduce fraud. Usually in these cases, the amount of fraud is 1/1000% or even less. Okay, but now it's been revealed that they're going to close 31 satellite DMV offices, leaving 28 counties without a place to get a driver's license. Okay, and every single county where African Americans account for more than 75% of registered voters will no longer have a driver's license office. All right. So we're going to talk about that as well. This is gaining a lot of criticism, and this story is gaining a lot of traction also. So that's in Alabama. Also, AfricanGlobe.net had an article this morning about how Egypt recovers stolen relief of King Seti I from London. We're going to talk about this. It's from between the 11th and 16th century BC. Okay, but this is a recovery of an artifact. And then this morning, I saw I think maybe it was last night or this morning, one of them. I think I saw it last night. There was a story from AtlantaBlackStar.com, and other entities have picked up on this also. But the new cover of Cosmopolitan magazine, it's the November issue of Cosmopolitan magazine, okay? they have the ladies of the Kardashian family on the cover of the magazine, and the caption calls them America's first family. America's first family. Okay. Now, Black Twitter is not happy about this. They're saying that this is a slight towards President Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and their daughters, Malia and Sasha, who are the first family. Um, so we'll talk a little bit about this as well. Now, I saw a picture some time ago, and I went online and Googled it and actually found it. Now, I posted this article on our fan page this morning. Go check out that article on the African History Network fan page. We have about 540,000 followers on our fan page. Look at the caption. Look at what I wrote in that status in that post, because I said they should have been called America's first family for coming up off of a sex tape, because this is basically what it is. This is like the first family I know of that has become popular and come up off of a sex tape. Now, there was a picture. I saw this some months ago, maybe last year, something like that. But I found it today on Twitter. Google. I Googled it. And it had the Kardashian family, all of them. And I think even Bruce, when he was Bruce. Okay. They had all of them there. Kim and Chloe and all of them. And then they had superimposed, they had a picture over to the left. They had a picture of Ray J. And the caption said, I made all these people famous with my penis, or I made this whole family famous with my penis. Okay, he used the caption used a different word than penis, but I'm cleaning it up here. Okay, so, and that's basically what it boils down to. Now, I know the father was a well-known attorney, okay, and he was an attorney on the O.J. Simpson case. He was part of the Dream Team. Kardashian. He's part of the Dream Team. But people didn't know the family. People didn't know the family. Okay. Some people knew the father. A lot of people didn't. People didn't know the family. But people know the family. People know Kim Kardashian or Khloe Kardashian. More people know about her, about those two ladies, than they do about the father. All right. So, and then also, tonight we'll deal with this date in African American history. We're going to deal with the public lynching of Sam Hose. You know, in Hidden Color Street, they talk about Sam Hose, and Dr. W.B. Du Bois was walking down the street and he saw the knuckles of Sam Hose, his actual knuckles, on display in a store window, because Sam Hose was murdered. He was accused of killing his boss. He and his boss got in a heated argument, and as the story goes, he threw an axe at his boss in self-defense and killed him. It was a white man who he killed, and he was lynched, burned alive, etc. Okay, but they cut off body parts and kept them as souvenirs or sold his body parts, and this was something that was common with lynchings in this country. Okay. So we'll deal with the public lynching of Sam Hose, and today is Fannie Lou Hamer's birthday as well. Okay, Fannie Lou Hamer, who is a great freedom fighter. I call her one of the original ride or die chicks. She is was a fighter in Mississippi for the right to vote as well. She was also a victim of forced sterilization as well. That's something that a lot of people don't know. Okay, and that's coming out of the eugenics movement. But she was a victim of forced sterilization. But today is her birthday, so we're going to talk about Fannie Lou Hamer tonight. And a lot of people like to quote Fannie Lou Hamer and talk about how she said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." A lot of people don't know about this other quote of Fannie Lou Hamer. Now, this comes from the WashingtonPost.com. There's an article from January 27, 2014. They were talking about a book dealing with the history of Negroes with guns. Okay, and the name of the article is "The What and Why of Negroes and the Gun: The Black Tradition of Arms." Okay, because there was a gun coming out. It was a book that came out that dealt with the tradition African Americans and firearms in this country. Okay. But the article says the Black tradition of arms has been submerged because it seems hard to reconcile with the dominant narrative of nonviolence in the modern civil rights movement. But that superficial tension is resolved by the long-standing distinction that was vividly evoked by movement stalwart Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer's approach to segregationists who dominated Mississippi politics was, quote, "Baby, you just gotta love them. Hating just makes you sick and weak," end quote. But asked how she survived the threats from midnight terrorists, Hamer responded, quote, "I'll tell you why. I keep a shotgun in every corner of my bedroom, and the first cracker even looked like he wants to throw some dynamite on my porch, won't write home his mama again," end quote. Now this is Fannie Lou Hamer. They don't quote that from Fannie Lou Hamer. They talk about I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And anybody who says that the civil rights movement was a nonviolent movement has not studied the civil rights movement. It was not a nonviolent movement. Professor James Smalls, one of my teachers, he told me this personally. He said it was not. I've interviewed him in one of the recent interviews I did with him. He said it was not a nonviolent movement. I studied it and could tell it was not a nonviolent movement. You had some people in the movement who advocated nonviolence when it came to the marches, when it came to the protests. They were saying be nonviolent there, but they were not against self-defense. Okay, and we have to make a clear distinction between the two of those. All right, you also have groups that are part of the civil rights movement. In this article, they talk about Robert F. Williams and the Black Guard, who was the president of the Monroe County NAACP chapter in North Carolina. And he organized African American gun groups. They were called the Black Guard, gun clubs, the Black Guard, to protect civil rights workers, to protect their community. Okay. Check out the documentary Negroes with Guns. Negroes with Guns. He also wrote a book called Negroes with Guns as well. And then you have the book by Charles Cobb Jr., Professor Charles Cobb Jr., who was a co-founder of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and he was a field secretary for SNCC in rural Mississippi for 5 years. He wrote a book called "This Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed." Okay, "This Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed," and I'll get you the exact title of that book here in just a minute. But it's called "This Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed." All right, and he dealt with the role that guns played in the civil rights movement. He talked about how if it had not been for Negroes with guns, you would not have had a civil rights movement. Okay, if it had not been for Negroes with guns, you would not have had a civil rights movement. And because he talked about how in Mississippi it was the people who lived in Mississippi, the African Americans who lived in Mississippi, who kept guns in their houses to fight off night riders and the bigots and things like this, to shoot at squirrels and go hunting, but to shoot at critters who were coming on the farm to eat their vegetation or what have you, all types of things like that. And he talks about how they told him that we know that you're nonviolent, but we aren't. Okay, and we're not going to let these white people kill you. And he said because that's what they would do, and they used the guns to protect them from these people who were trying to kill them. Okay, but check out that book, "This Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed." I think it's subtitled something like how Negroes with guns made the civil rights movement possible, something like that. Okay, I'm trying to see if I can pull it up here. So we'll see. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as well. Okay. All right. So be sure to tune into the Michael Imhotep show tonight 10 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time on the Empowerment Radio Network. Download the TuneIn Radio app to your Android phone, your iPhone, your BlackBerry, your tablet, and search for Empowerment Radio Network, or go to tunein.com, and search for Empowerment Radio Network on tunein.com also. Okay. And the call-in number is 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. We definitely want to hear from you. Give us a call. These shows are archived. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Listen to the archive episodes there as well. Click on radio shows at the top of the page and listen to the archive episodes, okay? So Fannie Lou Hamer was the founder of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, and today is her birthday. So we'll talk about that. We have an article on our fan page, The African History Network, talking about her birthday. And also today in 1993, Dr. Macy Jemison was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. So we'll talk a little bit about Macy Jemison tonight as well. She was the first African American woman to travel into space. Okay, first African American woman to travel into space. I want to remind you that coming up Friday, I'll be in Washington D.C. This weekend. Coming up Friday is the Black Wealth Matters Forum at Howard University, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Howard University's Business School. Okay. So we have the information on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Check out the information there. You have to RSVP. I think you can still RSVP because it's going to be packed. I think you can still RSVP. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. At the top of the page, click on events, and we have the information there, all the details, and the link to RSVP also. Because of limited seating, you have to RSVP. Okay, so I'll be the moderator. Dr. Boyce Watkins, founder of YourBlackWorld.net, and he's the CEO of the Black Wealth Boot Camp. Ryan Mack and myself were the organizers of this, but Dr. Boyce Watkins will be one of the panelists. You see him sometimes on CNN also. Ryan Mack, who is the Midwest coordinator, regional director of Operation Hope. He's one of the panelists as well. But the racial wealth gap is one of the most significant challenges we are facing in the 21st century. The annihilation of the African American institutions has not only led to persistent and skyrocketing African American unemployment, it has also left our community feeling powerless, frustrated, and looking for solutions. Okay, so we invite you to come in a day before the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March at Howard University, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'm trying to get some information on parking. I know a lot of people are coming in by bus and they're getting dropped off, but some people are driving in. So I contacted Ryan and Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm trying to get some information on parking, okay? And we'll post that information on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network as well, in regards to parking, okay? Okay, the name of the book, Charles E. Cobb Jr., okay? This nonviolent stuff will get you killed. How guns made the civil rights movement possible. Deep book. Roland Martin interviewed him on his TV show, News One Now with Roland Martin. And actually, there's an article from News One Now, and it has a clip of the interview as well. Okay, so you can check that out. Also, it's actually, here's the article right here. It's called Black and Armed. Hold on. Black and Armed. Author explains how guns made the civil rights movement possible. That's from January 26, 2015. It's an article, and then part of the interview, well, actually the interview he did on News One Now is there as well. Okay, so check that out. Black and Armed. Author explains how guns made the civil rights movement possible. It's a fantastic interview. All right, so tune into the Michael M. Hotep Show tonight, 10 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time on the Empowerment Radio Network. Download the TuneIn Radio app to your Android phone, your iPhone, your BlackBerry, your tablet. Search for Empowerment Radio Network, or go to tunein.com, search for Empowerment Radio Network. And also on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, we have the information there and the links on how to listen to the show, etc., and how to listen to the archived episodes, all right? Also on our website, we have all of my DVD presentations. I have them with me in Washington, D.C. as well. So be sure to visit our vendor table in Washington, D.C. They'll have books for sale. Also, I think Dr. Boyce Watkins will have some books for sale, things like that as well. So check out our website. My DVDs are available there. We also have the Hidden Colors DVDs, and we have the official copies of them, by the way. We have the Afro Man DVDs, etc. And we also have a recommended reading list of books. About 58 books on our website. At the top of the page, click on book list. We have the solutions we can implement in our community right now. I'm going to be updating that. I just did a 2-part show in this archive. Go back and listen to that. Solutions to problems facing African Americans, facing the African American community. So I'm updating the list of solutions. Some of the links need to be updated, and they're about, I think we have 24 there, but they're about 10, they're about, I think, 12 or something like that more that I have to add to that list. Okay, so listen to the show tonight, and also if you want to bring me in to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at info at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, info at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you have an article you want to email me or something like that, something you want me to talk about on the show, email me as well, info at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, look, I have to get out of here and prepare for tonight's show. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. We'll talk to you tonight. Peace. Mod Hotep.